Summer 2020 Webinar Series, Technology Supports for Blind and Low Vision Students, sponsored by the California Department of Education, Clearinghouse for Specialized Media and Technology.
Welcome back, everybody. For those of you guys who are returning to join our tech webinar series for CSMT. For those of you guys who are new to the group, welcome, and glad you can make it on the last day of the month. So this is our final CSMT sponsored webinar, and we are doing a BYOQ today, so bring your own questions. That was your homework. Of course, if you don't have a question, that is also fine too, if you're just here for the conversation and some company, because you could also make it your own BYOB, you know, whatever you like. It's 3 p.m. So today, I'm really excited to welcome Jessica McDowell. Jess is a TVI and O&Mer in Marin County, and Neil McKenzie, who is the AT specialist who supports the VI program in Sonoma County. So those guys are super lucky. I think we're all jealous of the TVIs in Sonoma County for having Neil. We have, the three of us, prepared short little demos for you guys, different ways to get you thinking about digital workflows. There's just so many ways to do it that, you know, sometimes it can seem overwhelming with all the options, all the different apps that come out, and just, you know, there isn't one set recipe for a digital workflow, which can seem daunting, but actually that's how our work can get so exciting, because for the first time ever, we have so many tools at our disposal, and they don't necessarily have to be expensive or specialized tools. Many of the apps you're going to see us using are free, or the cost of, you know, a latte, basically, depending on the type of latte you guys indulge in. Before we begin our live demos, I wanted to make sure that everybody just knows how to find the webinars and all the resources that are going to be posted from our June technology series. So I thought it would be handy just to, I'm going to share my screen, and I apologize that when we do share our screens, the captions will go away, because right now the captions are running through PowerPoint. And so we will lose the captions when we each share screens temporarily, but know that in the recording, the video will be fully captioned. So I do apologize for that, but this is the best we could do without having captioning support. So this is our hack, I guess. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here is, and I'm gonna share my Google Chrome. So this is my internet browser. And you know, the link to the CSMT webinars, you know, there's always these links, but I think just having the search terms is a lot more useful, because links often break. And then, I mean, who can remember these links anyways? So this is how I find the CSMT webinar website. I just type CS, oops, okay, let's see, okay. CSMT webinars, and it's already pre-populated because I did do the search to make sure it was actually findable. When I type CSMT webinars, it should be one of the first links that pop up. And so I just click the first link, and boom, we're right there. So you can see that there are some nice bright blue headings for all the prior webinar topics that I've done this month. So the first one was the 3 C's of a digital workflow. Then we had a webinar on how to conduct a needs assessment. Yesterday, we did screen sharing tools and strategies. Right now, we're doing our Techie TVI meetup with the BYOQ. And actually, I will be recording this multimedia accessibility one later today, and this will be posted. And this is just an asynchronous tutorial. So this final one, it's an introduction to how to do multimedia accessibility and how do you format text, images, and video. So this will just be a posted resource. It will not be a webinar. So this is our landing page that will be updated with all the recordings, and with each recording, there will also be a Q&A document that's been collected as questions come in from each webinar. Jen, is there anything else that you wanted to add?
Yes, thank you. I want to just let you know that this should be starting to get things posting probably tomorrow. We are getting everything approved. It's a long process at CDE to get things edited and approved and posted, but we are staging right now. So you should be finding within the next few days materials for the 3 C's of a digital workflow and how to conduct a needs assessment. But if there's something you're looking for before then and you need just a draft, please email me. I'll put my email in the chat and we'll make sure to get that to you.
And if you, for some reason, need like the most immediate access, the videos are also posted on the SF State VI program's YouTube channel. And again, actually, I just usually go to youtube.com and I just put in the search box VI program SFSU, and that's how I find my own YouTube channel. So if you do go to the VI program SFSU YouTube channel, you can click on the videos tab, and this is where all the uploads are. If you are a more organized sort of browser, you can also click on playlists, and you'll see a playlist for lectures. So all the webinars are in the lectures tab. And we also have a tech talk series where we do tech tutorials throughout the year. So these videos are just the videos with captioning, but the CSMT website will probably be your best landing place for all the resources associated with each webinar, as well as the Q&A doc. Okay. So I guess I'll pause here for our first opening for questions. Does anybody have any more questions about where to find these resources or accessing the webinars? Anything related to those logistics yet? Okay, great. And then
actually, Ting, can I just ask a quick question?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's all letters and I'm in Canada here and I'm a little mixed up. So if I go to the VI program, SFSU, that's one of the links. And what was the other one? You gave me some letters.
Oh, CSMT.
CSMT. Can you tell me what that stands for?
Jen? I always forget the T.
Yes, it stands for the Clearinghouse for Specialized Media and Technology. We are essentially the instructional resource center for California Public Schools. I'm going to put the links in the chat for you, so they'll be there in just a moment. I'm the administrator of the CSMT, so if you ever have questions past today about who we are, what we do, and if you can access us, just reach out.
Thanks, Jen. Thanks, Ting.
Okay, thanks for asking that, Lori. Oh, yes, my email address. Let's see. My email is ting@tplus.education. And I'm actually probably best available on Twitter if anybody is on Twitter here. And I am at TVI_Ting. And Jess and Neil, you guys can feel free to put your contact info in the chat as well if you would like. And yeah, we're all, and I think the three of us, we all have YouTube channels, so you can find all of us on YouTube, and the links to our YouTube channels will also be in the resources document for each webinar. Okay, and you can also find me on Facebook as well. So, great. Okay, so so this whole tech webinar series, it launched with the idea of getting people savvy with the tools and technologies needed to engage in the digital workflow and basically to support our students' digital literacy skills. I think this content is now more important than ever because of the nature of our learning environment now, having been in remote learning or hybrid. So we wanted to have a chance to do some live demos that you did not get to see in the webinar. So in the webinar, I did show you guys a couple different YouTube tutorials of different apps and different ways of getting things into the digital workflow or screen sharing. So we're going to be showing you some tools and strategies that you did not already see in the webinars, okay? And the reason why we picked these is we didn't have time to make a YouTube video yet, and we just thought it'd be more fun to do something live so you can be assured that there was no magic, that it really is this easy, and it doesn't take a lot of time. So what I'm going to do now is, I guess I'll just kick us off, and then I can pass the torch to Jessica and Neil. So, okay, let me think about how I did this. Okay. Okay, hold on a sec, guys. It took some troubleshooting for us to figure out how we were going to do these demos, you guys. So,
I think we have 3 different ways to screen share.
yeah, which is pretty neat, actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to spotlight a different video feed from my iPad. So, okay, great. There's my iPad video, and I will spotlight this so that you don't have to like hunt around for what screen to look at, because I know there's probably a lot of, there's 34 people here, so it might be hard to scroll in. Okay, so what I've got here is I have a Sesame Street bedtime storybook. I have it on a little easel, and it's just in front of my computer monitor here. And I wanted to do it this way so I could take my phone and you guys can see what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to unlock my phone real quick. So all I'm going to do is I am going to show you guys how I use the Scanner Pro app to very quickly snap photos of a book. And Scanner Pro has updated their app recently where they've got integrated OCR, so optical character recognition. So this means that it will recognize text that's in a picture. And this is a super duper feature because it's basically like a one-stop shop now. I can scan and have it recognize text all in one app in one step, rather than having to run it through multiple programs to try to get the text to be recognized and then read out loud. So all I'm going to do is I've got my iPhone here. I'm going to do a one finger swipe down for my spotlight search, and I type in Scanner Pro, and okay, there we go, and there it is, Scanner Pro. And so you can see I've already scanned a bunch of other documents, and I do like this app because it's pretty easy to use. I think it goes for $4.99, and no, I'm not getting paid, and I do not hold stock in the company. And so all I do is I click the orange plus sign, and a couple of features I like here, and these are features that I tend to look for in scanning apps. I look and see if I can turn off or control the flash, because flash can be annoying sometimes because it'll flash and you get all this glare on the page, and then that messes up your scan. There's also an option at the top menu to say, okay, am I scanning a color document, a black and white document, a color photo, or a grayscale photo? In this case, I'm going to say this is a color document. And sometimes you might play with the settings because sometimes you think that the color document might be the best, but then you scan it and you're like, ooh, actually this doesn't look great. So then I might go back and scan it as a photo instead.
And you can change that in the edit mode. You can cycle through the different ones if you've already scanned it.
Oh,
then you can just turn it into sometimes a different setting looks better.
Oh, cool. Okay, maybe we can try that, Jess. Actually, that's a good one. Okay, and I'm going to brighten up my screen a little bit so you guys can see it a little clearer. Okay, I think that's better. The other feature that I like is here in the top right corner, there's manual or auto. And this is for a manual capture, meaning like I actually have to click the button to capture it. Or if I click it to auto, this is a really nice feature because basically, as long as the edges are visible, it'll automatically capture and it makes it super quick. This is also nice for maybe a low vision student who needs to quickly scan something for themselves. The trick that I teach students is, just lay your piece of paper or book flat on the table. And then when it's flat on the table, you can actually put your phone flat on it, and then as you raise it up, the minute it recognizes all the edges, it will capture the scan. So that's a nice feature, having that auto capture too, is it's very easy for a low vision or blind student to be able to scan a piece of paper themselves. Okay. And just so you guys know, I typically do not use an easel. I typically just I will just lay it down on a solid background like a table or a floor, because with the easel, it's not, I can't flip the pages as quickly. But the nice thing about having the easel is that sometimes you can, the overhead glare from lights, it doesn't become as much of an issue. Okay. What was that, Jess?
Oh, they just had an update where they even did something better to deal with the shadows. So
really? Oh, nice. Okay, cool. So this is how easy it is, you guys. Hold it up. And oh, you know, it's because it's too busy behind here, I think. So I'm just gonna put a solid background behind him. Maybe the capture would be better. Okay, we'll see. This is kind of an experiment here. So, oh yeah, oh, it's because it's not getting this edge. And you guys, with technology, we always know that the most reliable thing about technology is that it will fail or disappoint you. So this is, I think, a great example of I'm trying to demo the auto capture, and of course it didn't work. So I'm just gonna, okay, we'll pretend that it auto captured. And so with the auto capture, you do need a high contrast between the edge of the book or page and the background. So it's because, you know, my background here isn't totally great. But anyways, so I had to do a manual capture and then just adjust the edges. And I'm just gonna save the selection. And this is, I've got this set up for multiple page capture. Okay, so I'm gonna open up the page. And I do like to make sure that our students have full access to all the information, because just as sighted students see a title page, they see the page with all the authors. I like to make sure our students have that same experience so they understand like what the title page means. Great, and that took, and I'm gonna flip to the table of contents. Great, it snapped it. And opening the book to the first story. And FYI, I do actually have a summer school student who needs this, so I'm also doing some prep work right now, so thank you so much, you guys. And this one looks like it's not wanting to do the auto, so I'm just gonna click the button, and I can easily, you know, adjust the edges again. So save, and I'm just gonna stop here. We've got 4 pages, but you can imagine like how quick you can actually scan all the pages of a book. So I'm gonna click my little button and hit save. And usually at this step, it will text recognize. So usually I get a little message going across the top that says text recognizing. And I did not get the message today, which is also very interesting because I definitely got it last night and this morning when I tried this, but I'm not getting the message now. So we will just see if it will read, okay? So I saved it, and the next step, so this is the first C of our 3 C's, right, you guys? It's the capture part. We always look for the export options. So share. And when I share, you know, you might want to put it in VoiceStream Reader if you like, and VoiceStream Reader also has an integrated OCR function, especially if you have VoiceStream Scanner. For my purposes, I think I'm gonna open it in iBooks, and I'll tell you why in just a minute once I get it open. So here we go, copy to iBooks. And there's my book, yay, it's in iBooks. So the reason why I wanted to put it in iBooks here was because let's say I've got a student with multiple disabilities who uses a switch. That student could potentially just hit their switch and advance the pages very quickly. So this would be for maybe a low vision student, a switch user perhaps. Sometimes I have a student who maybe for a first grade reader, this text is still a little bit difficult, but I want to inspire that joy of reading. So I don't want their inability to access this more advanced text to hold them back. So you can see it came out pretty clear, which is also why I like this app so much. And I'm on to the first page now. And what I'm going to do is I already have the speak screen function enabled in my accessibility settings, and Jess is actually going to show you how to enable the speak screen setting. But basically, once you've got the speak screen setting enabled, it's a 2-finger swipe down from the top.
No speakable content could be found on the screen.
Okay, it said no speakable content could be found on the screen, and that's because we didn't get that message in Scanner Pro that it recognized text. And of course, I have no idea why it didn't recognize text, because it definitely did that last night. So I'm just going to do a scan of this page again real quick and see if I can get it to recognize. Okay, so it says processing, text recognizing. Yay! Okay, it did recognize that page. So we'll just try this one more time. And you know what, you guys, sometimes this just happens, right? And you just have to get your student to laugh along with you, and you're like, oh, let's just try it again, right? Because, yeah.
And that's another thing I think that you can go back and kind of click through the settings and set up the OCR if it didn't give you that auto prompt.
Yeah, and I think sometimes with tech, it's sort of like power off and power it back on. So same kind of idea is like, oh, just give it another try. And like in this case, it ended up working. So,
No speakable content could be found on the
oh, of course, and it's not speaking, but I swear it really did work on the other one, the other time I tried it. But I actually, I have a backup because I did scan another book for my 2nd grader this year. He was reading Frog and Toad, and it was like, okay, I picked up the book when I went to see the kid. I took a couple minutes to use Scanner Pro, and I captured the book, okay? And then I'm able to then open it in iBooks and make it read. You will see that sometimes it's not perfect. The reading order gets a little bit messy.
No speakable content could be found on the
Oh
screen.
man, so Jess, something is weird because my speak screen is not working. But okay, so this is something I need to troubleshoot on my own, but I don't want to hold us up. But Jess, you're gonna show us speak screen and show us how it actually does work instead of my theoretical claim that it works. So, okay, does anybody have questions on that demo? I know it wasn't perfect because I couldn't get it to read out loud, but the idea is there.
Hi, Ting. This is Jen. I have a question.
Yes.
Is there a limit to the book size that you typically encounter?
I think I've scanned maybe 25 or 30 pages, but I haven't encountered a size. Has anybody else?
I've scanned a lot. Sometimes the file can get pretty big, but that's less of a problem than it used to be.
Yeah. And Peggy Scholl asked, could it be because there are 2 columns? So sometimes OCR does is challenged when either like the spacing is too far apart or when the text is in 2 columns. So in those cases, the automatic OCR doesn't work that great, and it's something that you might have to just manually clean up in a Google Doc.
Okay. I've
Hi,
seen.
Ting.
Yeah.
Hi, Ting. It's Susan Cantos.
Oh, hi, Susan.
How are you? I have a question. You said something about scanning pages into iBooks and then using switches.
Mm-hmm.
Are you using the Bluetooth switches for that?
Yes, I've used the a little blue Bluetooth switch. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, they're a little bit tricky to set up. Just so you know, it's not it's not seamless, but it is doable.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. And so Ginger, I'm not as concerned with copyright because I'm scanning a copy for the student's own use, and they're not sharing it. But also, I guess I'm not asking permission because it's just for the student's own use, and so I don't know. I'm not sure if I can answer that question.
I might be able to jump in there, and we'd have to go check the Chafee Amendment, but there are exceptions to copyright law to provide services to our students. So the Chafee Amendment would be the place to look.
It's probably also on Bookshare, so you could say you got it from Bookshare.
All right, Jess, take us away.
Oh, okay. So hello. Hold on one sec. To get my phone plugged in here. So I'm basically going to do just a couple things. I'll try to run through them quickly and then answer questions, or we can review that later. So the first thing is maybe something people already use, and it is using the reader view and speak screen. And let me share my screen here. So what I'm going to do is share my screen and start a broadcast, and then go to my camera. Does that work for you, everyone?
Yeah, looks good, Jess.
Okay, all right. So, so in settings, if you go to accessibility, spoken content, you have the speak selection and speak screen. So when you get in here, if it wasn't on and you turn on speak screen, you have some options. There's a highlight content option that you can play around with, and it does words, sentences, and words and sentences. It may be, some of the contrast may not be great, so just play around. So now let's say I found since March that a lot of my students really needed more options to listen. Maybe they weren't using it that much, but now they were looking at screens way more, and they were like, oh, I need to listen to this. So let's say this was a document that from a web page that a student needed to read. If they go to reader view up here, they can show reader view. And of course, this cleans it up for them. And you have options to change some visual settings and the size. So now if I use speak screen, like Ting was saying, it's 2 fingers from the top onto the screen.
Cats rule in ancient Egypt. Learn about how cats were honored in ancient Egypt. Ancient Egyptians worshipped many and...
So then you can listen to it, and there are some options in here for some slower or faster speeds. So that's been a quick thing that my students have learned to use. So the other thing is the documents that have been in Google Drive, like how do we, different ways to deal with those. So let's say a student, they're getting all sorts of things from teachers, and some of them are kind of built-in accessible, and some are more like photo PDFs that aren't readable with text-to-speech. So let's say they want to listen to this one, Early Republic. And so if I use speak screen, I think that this
Early Republic.pdf. No.
Hold on, let me do that again. Okay, so speak screen.
5 Early Republic.pdf. No.
So what you heard was it just read the title, but I guess it said no or something. There's nothing, it's not seeing anything on the screen. So this is not accessible. So my student wants to listen to that. So what they could do is go to the kind of action, those 3 dots up there, and choose open in. And we're going to copy to Voice Dream Reader. And so when I open this, then let me go out for a minute and let you know that I have Voice Dream Scanner loaded along with Voice Dream. And this adds the functionality to Voice Dream Reader to you do the OCR. You can either open up Scanner and snap a picture of a document or use a photo and then take it to Voice Dream. Or in this case, we've just gone from Drive straight to Voice Dream Reader. So where is my document now? I'm sure so it says, do you want to perform OCR? I say yes. Hopefully it's quick. Okay. And now we have a document we can use with all the settings.
Early Republic document.
In Voice Dream Reader. So original layout.
Early Republic document based question, DB.
Okay, so that's the first little workflow from Google Drive. So let's say now the 2 other things to show you from Google Drive is if there is a document that a student wants to write on using an iPad with a pencil, and the newest educational iPads that are like $3.99, I think, work with the pencil that comes with them. So it's a nice option for a student that does want to keep writing on documents. So let me find out one that, so here's plural nouns, and my student wants to write on it, and let's say right now they don't want that read aloud. So they're just gonna open this in. A great app for that is Copy to Good Notes. You can import that, and then they can use their pencil to, write on there, or, add a text box and dictate, or however they want to, fill this out. So we could say mysteries. So if that was over there, they're filling out their worksheet like this, and they can send it back to their teacher.
You do have a couple questions in the chat. Do you like Good Notes more than Notability? And what do you think are some advantages of it?
Well, I think Ting and Neil, maybe you have more experience with Notability. I've just used Good Notes more. And I think Notability had more of a sign up and other features. Good Notes I like just for here's a document and write on it and send it somewhere else. But Ting and Neil might have some ideas about that.
For my students, I usually just show them maybe 2 apps at a time, and I'll give them a couple weeks to try it, and I let them make their own decisions. But I'm not as familiar with either of these apps because I don't personally use them as much. I am always looking for which app is going to better support writing with the Apple Pencil, and whether or not there's handwriting OCR. So yeah, whoever does better handwriting OCR, that'll usually push me. That's a tipping point for me.
Okay. So then the next thing, we took one into Good Notes. Now, what if I had a student who really wanted to listen because of the headaches she was getting? She wanted to write. She was visual, wanted to write on paper, but needed to do text to speech because of what was happening. So in that case, the app that I've been using for that is called Claro PDF, PDF Pro. So here I am in Google Drive, and let me find the one that I was going to do. I'm just going to take this one for now, even though I think it is already readable. So if I open in Claro, copy to Claro PDF, okay, now my document's here, and I can also listen to it.
Many people are interested in ancient mystery. 2. One mystery concern.
Okay, and now same thing. This is not as robust a writing note-taking app as Good Notes, but it does the job for someone who wants to listen and then be able to write. So I choose my pen tool, and I can write mysteries. And you could do a text box and dictate, or use your keyboard, or any way you want to enter that. Okay, so I think that was all I was going to show. Let me go back. And I'm going to stop broadcasting here and get back. So Jen, if there was any questions, let me know what you see.
Yes, there is. And then I want to just also emphasize, I appreciate that you guys are running into issues, because that's what happens every day in the field. And this is the kind of learning that our students need to see. They need to know we're not perfect, things aren't perfect, and this is how we troubleshoot. So 2 questions. One is from Vanita. With voice typing, I always have a problem with punctuation. It makes my students feel frustrated to go back and fix it. Is there any way to do that while voice typing?
Oh, with when you're dictating, you can say period, you can say some punctuation. So that's something they can practice with. And definitely with my students that want to dictate, I just encourage them to keep trying. And I believe there's some learning, that there's context. Like if you just said one word, it might not get it right, but if you put that in a sentence, you can see it actually to correct the words that it might have misunderstood. So I think that it just keeps getting better. And I don't know if there's a list somewhere of this sort of dictation commands, but definitely you can say, like, are you going ? And you'll get the punctuation. But I think it also is tricky to go back and edit something that was dictated. So I've had students that have liked dictating, but then once they get skilled at keyboarding, then that kind of takes over for them.
Yeah, and usually every program has its own kind of wordage too on that. So some of them you can actually say like, go back, erase that. So it's kind of important to kind of pick whatever lane you're going to be in, and then make sure that the practice is there, and the easy stuff is there, to where they talk slower, where they have complete sentences and not try to do like a whole dissertation in one swoop, because it takes a little finesse. So I would definitely make sure the program specific commands are learned, and then take it slow. It's not super easy.
Yeah, and to add to that, I think just voice typing or those voice recognition issues, it's actually not an easy technology to use. So it's important for students to understand when voice typing is a good tool and when it's not going to be a good tool. And I think this also goes back to emphasizing that all of our students still, regardless, need really good computer and keyboarding skills.
Right. And I think someone asked about the best app. And I think something that Neil and Ting and I talk about often is kind of the native, like if you're using an iPad, the, what Apple's been doing to keep their dictation running smoothly. I'm pretty amazed at how it keeps getting better and better.
Yeah. And it does learn, so that the artificial intelligence is definitely getting better. And the more you use it, the more it learns.
I've run through it a couple times with some students, and I find that it's best to introduce it slowly, and not so much as something that they're going to be dependent on, but like maybe a fun little activity where you have some funny questions, and then just sentence by sentence, you have them answer one at a time. So it doesn't become something like, this is something you're going to need to depend on. Like Ting says, it's not as easy as it seems to be portrayed, like in commercials and in YouTube videos where they're going to town with the dictation.
Yeah. And for students where maybe you're looking at voice typing because maybe keyboarding is like physically fatiguing, or maybe there's some other motor issues that are preventing a student from being a very proficient keyboarder, you might also look at different word completion apps. I'm blanking on the name, like things like Co-Writer. What do we call those apps, you guys? Predictive text. Thank you, Erin. I just spaced on the word, but yeah, the Co-Writer is one. Speak Q, I believe, is another one where you have that predictive typing.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. Ooh, thank you, Hi. Hi is putting in a list of dictation commands for iOS for us. All right, Neil's up.
All right. I'm going to try to make this quick so we have some time for some discussion and questions. So mine first comes from, this particular lesson came from a lesson that was not planned. A little backstory on what I was going to do. I was going to meet with a high school student who was completely blind, and we were going to do some Nemeth stuff on his note taker and digital math stuff. But when I got there, everyone was really tense at the site, and we had learned that his para had called in sick that morning. So they were scrambling and they kept on coming into the room, and kind of the whole vibe of the lesson just went out the window. So we abandoned that, and then we just started talking about what classes he was going to have that day and what barriers to access might come up with his para not being there. So we eventually got to what would happen in the situation if someone handed you a print document. What things could you do? And he had some great answers. And I think his first one was ask the teacher to send it digitally, and that was all correct, advocate for himself. But then I started thinking, okay, so what would happen if you didn't have that option? And let's say, is there anything that you could do that you have on yourself that you could have access to that text? Not only have it read to you, but have it in a format where you can interact with it. And he sat there and thought, he's like, there has to be something on my phone. So we ended up doing an impromptu Seeing AI lesson. And again, this was not to make a new workflow or to make sure that the path of him getting accessible materials would change. But this was just to explore options he had and to really understand the technology that he had in his pocket. Because I think before then, he used it very rarely, and he would mostly take pictures of me because it would say my age is older than I am, and he thought that was hilarious. So it was good for him to use the technology in a meaningful way. So what we did was I gave him a print document and said, okay, I want you to now use that app. Don't take a picture of me, but try to scan that document and see what we can do with it. And so I'm just gonna play the audio of, I recorded this 10 minutes before we jumped on here. And I'll hold up the document here. Now this would be a dream document because it's laid out fairly easy. Most documents aren't. And this is what I came up with. The beginning of this document says name, date, quotation marks worksheet, adding quotations part 1. So here's the audio from Seeing AI.
Short date on marks worksheet. Adding quotations part 1 ion marks to set off material that represents quoted watch. Read each sentence. Add quotation marks where. What a great day, yelled Mr. Document. Hold steady. Processing.
So what it did first was it looked for the text, and it actually read it fairly quickly. It picked up the text, and like I said, this is a dream document, so it didn't have a lot of problems with it. And then we went to the document scanning part of it, and this is where we came up with probably one of the funnest lessons we had all year. So he scanned it, and it not only was he able to play it back, but he was also able to send it to his email and then open it on his note taker. And so again, that's just one of my favorite lessons, and that's one that you could always have in your pocket, especially when things go wrong, because I think we've demonstrated every time technology will always find a way to go wrong. There's 3 different things that went wrong today before we even started this, just because we're dealing with technology. But talking about scanning led to a really fun activity that I want to show you guys really quick. We made our own scanning stand. And so what it is, it's just made of, this is the early one that we did, PVC pipe. There's a neck, and then on the left and right side, there's 2 legs that go out and then face forward, which should be away from the person holding the document camera. And all it is different sizes of cut PVC pipe and elbows and end pieces. And we realized that we took an Instructable, and I'll give a link to that. And just by using a tactile ruler, I think we took one off the Draftsman set, but there, you could use any one that has inches on it. And to mark the length, we used these little handy guys, the Wiki sticks, the little wax tactile markers. And so the student began to have a list that had in Braille of the different measurements. He measured it himself, he marked it himself, and then what's really cool is to cut PVC pipe, you can use one of these PVC pipe cutters, and they go really, really slow. They click and they slowly cut the pipe. So it's really safe. and it even has a guard right here. And he ended up loving this this lesson, and it even started talking about design theories. And he kind of took it on his own to talk about, okay, length of the neck. What would that mean for perspective? And I realized that just like most kids, this student was a complete maker, and it kind of set him off a different path to really do more hands-on and kind of get away from the screen and the really hardcore technology, which we both needed a break from. And so I'll put a link to that Instructable. And what was amazing was he took it to a next level. He not only loved it so much that he was into the lesson, but we ended up doing it 2 more times so he can make ones for his friends and send it to them. But he also helped design a 3D printed plate that held his phone. And every week he would give me some pointers on how to improve it. I think the first one he said was, hey, you're blocking the audio jack. What if a student needed his headphones in and didn't want the audio to be playing out loud? And so every week he kept on designing more and more specific attributes to make this better. And I would just encourage you, I think it costs like a total of like $4.38 in pieces. And it was just one of the funnest things. And it really did set him on this whole kind of hands-on maker tools thing that I don't think he had a lot of opportunities before to really get in there and completely do something accessible. Because after we went through the first one together, the second one, I just left the pieces for him and he completely created it. So I'll leave a link to where that is. We have a resource website that we are building for my department. And we have VI resources on there. And I also put on some P-off sheets that I made in conjunction with lessons for like the Google Suites and Zoom to have a tactile reference for the visual and spatial layout. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Neil. And Neil, there's a question of how much is the PVC cutter?
It was like $6.
Wow, great.
Yeah, and I bought one and let I think 3 or 4 different students use it, so it got a lot of use.
Nice.
And it's a good Instructable to, you know, if you can even get like the pieces before and drop them off to the students, a good summer project they can do with their families.
By the way, Neil, I was completely inspired by how you made the P-off of the Zoom layout and the Google Slides layout. And so let me show you what I did with my summer school student the other day. So I was introducing him to a laptop in JAWS for the first time ever. And in preparation for our lesson, I took out my Draftsman and I whipped up this quick little tactile graphic of the PC desktop. So we're able to go through and how there's icons laid out on it. So I made each icon space a square, and then where there was actually an icon, I put an X through it, but I left blank spaces so he could understand how the icons might have spaces on the desktop. And then we got to talk about the Windows menu and what the Windows key looks like, and the magnifying glass as your search bar, and the dock or the taskbar that functions as your dock. And then the squiggle in the bottom right corner is like where all your utilities menu is. So
Nice.
I love those teaching aids because the conversations that it starts.
Yeah.
When I was first doing voiceover on a Macintosh computer that a student had, I didn't even realize the meaning of dock or like how that relates to what's actually happening in the computer. He's like, oh, it's like boats that come in, dock, and then when they're ready to go out to sea, you put them out to sea. And it just started some really great conversation and understanding of technology that I didn't even have at that point.
That's cute.
That's awesome.
Okay. Ellen has a question. Okay. Is there an app that will scan groceries and identify them? I like the barcode reader on scanning AI
Mm-hmm.
or
And
seeing AI. Sorry.
even the iOS, the newer systems, it's just right in the picture, so you don't even need to have a separate app. It will scan barcodes
That's
or
true.
QR codes too.
And also, if you go to the grocery store, you might be able to use a visual interpreter app. Hi, do you have any input for the visual interpreter apps that you might choose for going through a grocery store? I don't know.
Sorry about that. I was muted. So the ones that I tend to use is I pretty much stick to Ira just because it's super responsive. When you have an agent with you, you can get your questions answered quickly. There's not a lot of looking around and trying to figure out, how to point the camera because you're working directly with a live person on the other side.
What would you recommend for like a non-subscription one? Like, would you use TapTapSee versus Be My Eyes, or how do you make that decision?
I mean, if you don't have anything else available to you, it's doable. It just takes a lot longer.
Yeah.
And so it's a question of, how much is your time worth?
Yeah.
I might go back and experiment with the Seeing AI app though, and see if it's improved in the ability to do the short text recognition on labels, and then also the barcode reader will give sufficient information.
I feel like with Seeing AI, it's like you'll know from the beginning if it's gonna work or not. Like sometimes you have to restart it, and then once you get a good kick on it, once it's up and running, like I tried the short text this morning and it worked really good. After I had to get out of it and restart it again. But once I restarted it, it did really good with the short text, better than I think I've ever experienced. So it must have been an update. That's
true. These apps do update frequently. And also, I wanted to let you guys know that I'm not a complete failure with my demo because, Jess and Neil are such rock stars. But I did bring up my book in the iBooks app again. And so remember with the 2-finger swipe down, it said no speakable content. But on the speak screen, there's also a little finger. And so I noticed that when I pushed the finger and I clicked on the actual text, it is reading the text, but it's just reading it sentence by sentence. So I don't know why my speak screen is working kind of funny, but anyways, just the funs of technology, and the workaround is that I can actually get it to read sentence by sentence, but just not the full screen. So.
That's weird. I wonder if that's an iBooks thing, like maybe something changed in the way that functions, but
I don't know, but I mean,
problem solving.
Yeah, I mean, it worked this morning and last night, so I don't know.
I think they found out the time we're doing the webinar, and they knew exactly when to hit us.
Yeah. Hey, are there any other questions, you guys? We've got a lot of expertise in the room, actually.
Actually, this is Lori from Canada. I have a question. I have, this year I've deemed my year to learn really well how to get our students to pair other things with the technology for distance viewing on the board, etc. So yesterday, Ting, you talked about two different things, two different pairing devices. Can you just review those quickly again, please?
Two pairing devices. Can you give me a little bit more information about what you mean by pairing devices?
Like the programs for remote sharing, is that what she's talking about?
Yeah, wirelessly being able to see what the teacher is writing on a tablet, and what the teacher is as they're writing, and also as they put up their screen, like their previously written notes.
So I think one of the ones I mentioned was the IPEVO VZX, which I happen to have here because I was trying to see if I could use it for our demo today. So this is the IPEVO VZX.
Can you spell that, please?
Oh, yeah. Put it in. And then the other one that I had put on the screen was an Elmo, and I don't remember the model number, but it'll be on the webinar recording. And then Neil recently discovered the iDocCam app. So that was the app.
Join Me was also one.
Yes.
So is there one that is the easiest for the teachers and the quickest with, you know, the least amount of hassle that you would recommend?
Oh, it really depends on what's going to be the least amount of hassle. It depends on the classroom. It depends on what the classroom teacher's already using.
A lot of our students use BNC Connect, but that is really heavy in the setup. But once it's set up, they literally go into a room and press one button. So it's like Ting said, it all depends on the student, what they're on, and then the IT too at the school and what they allow and all those fun things.
Right, because we're pretty locked down in our school district, so.
That's when you got to start bringing candy to the IT guys.
Yeah, our donuts are ready out yesterday. So
Yeah.
Neil brought donuts.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, thanks you guys.
Yeah, if you guys are in districts where like students have limited access to downloading apps or certain parts of the internet or certain whatevers, if you make friends with IT, what IT can do is they can create what's called a bin. And so they can create a bin and put all of the VI students in the bin. And within the bin, they can assign more privileges than your gen ed students. So I find that that's the easiest way for IT to handle it. And so you do have to learn IT's language a little bit to help them like think through this with you. So that's something you can ask for is, hey, can I have all the VI students in their own bin so we can assign X, Y, and Z privileges, or we can make sure they're allowed to download X, Y, and Z apps or Chrome extensions or whatever.
So do you think that would work over a variety of schools, or would that have to be per school?
It depends on if each school has their own system or IT manager versus a district versus a county. So you've got to go to whoever is in charge of like the IT for the school.
All right, so in our district, that's district-wide. They're the ones that can play with all those numbers, so.
Got it.
So a lot of donuts.
Yeah, a lot of donuts. Thanks, Neil.
Yeah, no problem. So Lori, you had a good question, and so that software is still out there. It's just really hard to find, and I should update that video with that information, but most of the students I have on VNC are still with that older model, Elmo.
Okay, so Elmo that's a screen sharing app, or is it a program, or?
No, Laura asked a question about, I made a video a while back ago on Elmo's working with iPads. So I completely forgot your question. I'm so sorry.
Me, Lori? It was about joining the teachers, like what the regular sighted children are seeing in the classroom for our students to be able to see on their own device.
Yes, so we've been doing a lot of setups using Teamviewer, which it's a free app, and actually it is harder on the setup, but I have one class with 4 VI students on the same account, and they're all able to instantaneously mirror to the teacher's computer. And I have a video explaining the steps on that too that we can make sure everyone gets to.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks, Neil.
Thank you for the questions, Lori.
Thanks. Well, you did do this presentation when you came to us in Vancouver here, I think a little while ago, and it's still mulling around in my brain, but it's something I have to do for 2 of my students this upcoming year, and I'm just really trying to wrap my brain around it.
Yeah, and it's okay. I think especially with tech stuff, like sometimes you gotta just watch the same video a bunch of times or read about it in different ways. And, you know, whenever Neil puts up a new video, I feel like I watch it several times before I start to understand it.
Okay, and maybe having the donut-clad IT guys watch, right? Okay, so Neil, you're going to share that, or are you going to update it, or?
Yeah, I'll share it.
Thank you.
Is there a place should I try to find it right now, or is there?
Are you guys sending out notices at the end of this, or?
No, but Lori, this is Jen. If you want to email me directly, and Neil, if you want to send it to me, what we'll do is get it in the Q&A box, and then I can share it with you too, Lori, before then.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Yes.
And I'll tweet it out too today.
Thank you.
Don't do tweet.
One more thing, since we have a lot of people who are on our call not from California, something to keep in mind is that we do offer, we call it the Braille and Teach list service. It's become national, international now. It's something CSMT runs.
Oh, wow.
But it's a free, yeah, we've got people calling over from it. It's a list service that we run directly out of CSMT. It's I'll also put the website in the chat, but you can sign up to access it. And this is not necessarily one where it's always us sending you things, but it's an open forum for you to collaborate with others. And so we do invite you to sign up for that and join that.
I'll be joining it. Thanks so much.
Maybe, you know, we do have the emails for everybody who registered. So maybe Jen, like when things are posted on the CSMT website, we could just email everybody and let people know that the resources and Q&A docs have all been posted on the CSMT.
I absolutely will. If you send me that list, I got that covered.
Cool. So that way you guys, you don't have to be trolling Twitter for Neil's tweets or, you know, checking the website 1,500 times for the updates.
I will mention too, it's a good remote teaching thing too is Teamviewer, especially if your student's using a Braille Sense note taker. You can remotely view a screen of what they're doing in your house when they're in their house. You can even see the Braille display. So we've been doing some math stuff to check if the Nemeth is right. So not only can we see the print, but we can also see how it pops up on the refreshable Braille display.
And there's more information about how to do that on the VI program SFSU YouTube channel, and it's Tech Talk number 6. All right, well, I'm just looking at the time. It's 4:03. We don't want to keep you guys hostage for too long. So thanks so much, Neil and Jess, for joining. Thanks for all the questions, you guys. And just wanted to say thanks again for sharing a little slice of your summer with me and this webinar series. So I just wanted to thank Jen and the California Department of Education, the CSMT for sponsoring all this and making this content just widely available for everybody. So it's really great. Thank you.
Thanks for having us, Ting.
No, Ting, Neil, and Jessica, we are honored to have had you lead us, and we really appreciate all of your insight today, and Ting for all of the webinars. So thank you so much for doing this for us as well.
No problem. It's been fun, you guys. Have a great summer. And good luck this fall.
Thank you.
Sponsored by the California Department of Education Clearinghouse for Specialized Media and Technology. Video editing by Monica Kulenai, SF State VI Program. viprogram.sfsu.edu.